Hear ye, hear ye! The Parliament of Geeks shall now come to order!
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Parliament of Geeks, where we ask and answer one simple question. Be it weeb, or be it scrub? I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 1, 2, 3, 4 good brothers. Ha 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 ha! We have our living Wikipedia and our long-suffering Mariners fan, good brother Flutter. We have the man who is my fellow in sports space shitposting, good brother Matty.
The Leafs suck again.
Oh no, we suck again.
Oh, they don't even deserve that. We just need straight up pointed laugh at this point.
Oh.
Keep introducing people, though.
And we have the man who may not be from Florida, but he is from Second Florida. Good brother Shades.
Actually, I am from Florida. I'm from both. What the fuck you on about?
He's from Florida squared, monk.
Yes.
And of course, the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadari Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
Please note that Zadari Enterprises ethically sources all of its super genius children. We are not like other enterprises which unethically source their super genius children. However, we certainly accept the freedom and happiness of One Henya. Welcome back. My tea is finally warm.
Wow.
So
Anyone who's been following the recent Shoujo news understands exactly what the fuck we're talking about.
yep.
Oh, yes.
So this is a first for the Parliament. To my recollection, we have never done a return on any particular work. Granted, most of it is because it's works. Most of the ones we do are works that are meant to be self-contained. But this is a special case, and since this particular project happened to come around right around the time we were wrapping up Keys Niver, I earmarked it in for the next one.
Back to where we began.
Yeah,
And thus the cycle returns.
'cause let me check the dates. It was March 1st. 1 year ago that we did our first episode of the Parliament of Geeks on this very show. 15 episodes later and we're back.
You have all heard of the cycle of samsara. This is the cycle of weebery. A never-ending cycle of shitposting and memes.
We do here in the temple advocate for a meme-based economy.
Meme magic is real, people.
Damn straight.
I will not say that we have seized the means of production because we're not filthy communists.
That we know of.
No, but those that are exposed as such get free helicopter rides. One way.
Pinochet's wild ride only ends in one way.
Well, it could be worse. I could put them in Mr. Bones' wild ride.
Oh.
Yuck.
The ride never ends.
Be that as it may, monk.
Yeah, getting back on the rails. So, a season 2 was inevitable given how season 1 ended, with doing something that a lot of streaming shows do of giving a oh shit moment to leave off on a what happens next. This is
A very risky endeavor, honestly.
yeah, the whole thing was a massive risk. In the meantime that happened, it was announced that Amazon was going to be working much more closely with future endeavors with The Legend of Vox Machina, which makes perfect sense because all of their other endeavors to do some sort of fantasy epic have gone up in flames. Because the Rings of Power, need I say more?
Actually, no. Wait. The Rings of Power.
Oh shit! Oh my god, you're such a loser, dude. Oh shit, wait.
Which
But once that's that one.
apparently is so bad that God is conspiring to shut down season 2. If you've heard any of the news on that,
Oh God.
they apparently midway through a horse passed away during filming, and one of the sets caught on fire. Like
Wait, were they filming in California / Alberta?
no,
Ooh, that's bad luck then. Damn.
it's
Is this how you get the plagues of Egypt a second time? Because I think that's how you get the plagues of Egypt a second time.
Sounds about right to me.
it's a bad sign when I end up invoking all the weird shit that happened during the filming of The Exorcist.
At least that had an excuse.
Yeah.
But
Or Poltergeist.
then you look at other folks' attempt to try and do a fantasy epic, as well as the fact that the other Amazon project, the attempt at doing a Conan project ended up falling through, and the guy behind that went to go do House of the Dragon, which is doing very well for itself. Oh yeah, and there was also the time that they tried to adapt The Wheel of Time, which Jeremy and I covered a while ago. So out of all those strikes, and you've got this one good one that is at least keeping its fan base and not pissing them off. Yeah, keep them around.
Keep
the
them
smartest
around.
business
Approve
decision
them
you can
for
make
the
right
next
now.
2 more seasons. I want y'all to sign up for their second campaign too. Like a lot of people like the Mighty Nine. Let's do a thing like that.
Yeah, there is word that is going to be adapted.
Oh no, it's not word. It's been announced through Critical Role and Amazon.
Yeah,
Shit's gonna happen.
for me, it's a case of make sure you're not spinning too many plates. I don't want to play sword dance.
But
Fair.
sword dance increases your special attack by 2 stages, Monk.
Moving on. So once we got season 2, it was inevitable that it was going to be entering our hallowed halls. And one thing I think we should bring up, because it's something that a lot of people covering this show haven't, and that is the fact that instead of dumping all episodes, which is the bad habit of streaming services and one I've been critical of, for Season 1 and Season 2, they have staggered it. 3 episodes a week over a period of a month. That was all the... Or rather,
Actually, in season 1, they did stagger it 3 episodes a week as well.
Yeah.
He's saying compared to other shows that just dumped
Yeah.
everything all at once. Hi, Netflix. How the fuck you doing?
And Chado has talked about this as well. The thing that's been lost with the push towards streaming and the episode dumping is the idea of a show being a social event. I've talked about this in the past when it comes to the watch parties that we do regarding AEW, Dynamite, Rampage, sometimes other shows, sometimes shows that we wish we hadn't, and the Saturday stuff when it comes to Toonami. Because I think for a lot of us, we grew up with the idea of certain shows being a social event that we'd all gather around and watch. Same thing with sports. But when everything is on a streaming service like that, it's hard to have that same social gathering.
You kind of have to force it, and there's also, the longevity of talking about it as it's coming out. Mm-hmm. With a staggered release, you get to talk, even if you don't watch it together at the same time, you're talking to your buddies about it on Monday at the office or at the schoolyard. Mm-hmm. You're going, hey, did you see this latest episode? Yeah, it was so cool. Did you see that happen? You don't get, if everything's released all at once, you only get that for like a week, at maybe 2 tops, and then nobody's talking about it anymore.
And if you want an excellent case in point with what I'm bringing up, consider how long people talk about Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get a massive amount of talk and a massive amount of memes for maybe a month, and then it's gone. 2 months if you're lucky. And I can't. This is the reason why I'd like to hope that as things go forward, this sort of weekly, even semi-weekly release schedule is something that becomes more prevalent because it's a way to get people to keep coming back. And hell, if we saw this with Disney Plus, where people would come in just to binge The Mandalorian and then leave.
Or you get people like me who, when it's occurring, has no interest on the streaming server, but then something suddenly catches my eye literally years down the line, and I backtrack through the 7 seas to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, they did the same thing. Although, correct me, I'd have to double check about whether or not they debuted episodes on their Twitch channel as well.
No. As far as Vox Machina goes, no. What they did do was they did do a watch along on Tuesdays, where they would watch the episodes with the Amazon Watch Party system, and then they would discuss it.
Which is smart. It's once again adding to that conversation.
That whole social gathering thing. They're gathering with their fans to watch along and have fun discussing, maybe talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff that maybe you don't know about, and then you can, decompress and debrief and really just break it down like we're about to do here.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but before we break it down, what do we got to do, Monk?
Oh yes, I'm ready here.
All right. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to rise for our drinking anthem.
Skål!
Skål!
And with that, it's time to sound the yellow horn!
Now, as always, the animation was a collaboration between Critical Role Studios and Titmouse, and visual-wise, it's at the same quality as it was before. There's not a whole lot to really dissect when it comes to the animation. Last time we talked about an issue of the audio identity, which I do want to clarify some things. Because the composer was Neil Acri, who has done a lot of work just all over the place. He's worked on StarCraft 2, he's worked on World of Warcraft, he's worked on Diablo 3, he's worked on Overwatch. He's done TV work for both SG-1 and Atlantis, as well as Witchblade. So he's gotten around. But I think you'll notice that a lot of the stuff that I mentioned is video game and television, as well as a fair few film work. Not a whole lot of animated work.
I think the only animated you mentioned was Witchblade.
Actually, no, he did the TNT show.
Oh, well. Excuse me.
And of course, the big thing is that he's been responsible for a good chunk of music all the way since Burning Crusade. When it comes to World of Warcraft, he's done work on basically music work on every expansion, and in some cases gotten nominated or awards for it. The reason why I bring up the distinction between doing video game music and doing music for animation is what's demanded of you is going to be different. And I think that's I actually think when I looked that up, I began to realize why we had an issue with the audio identity. It's an audio identity that during Season 1 was built more for television than it was for animation.
Yeah.
Like,
I can see what you're saying there.
Like, the soundtrack feels like the soundtrack work you would hear in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Now,
Which, in some sense, does make sense because they're both very high fantasy, but with a show like Vox Machina, you need to punch it up a little bit more because of all the action and all of the intense motion going on here. You got to really add some energy to it, and I don't think, well, they tried, I don't think they quite got it with Season 1.
What I'm kind of getting at is that if you listen to the score of, say, Game of Thrones in isolation, it's meant to add to an atmosphere, but not meant to heighten a given moment. Mostly because the heightening of that moment is supposed to be is treated as the visuals job in a lot of those cases. Whereas with animation, you're playing by a different set of rules. Like you just adding to the ambiance even is not going to work, and that's something that's especially going to be apparent when it comes to action scenes, which I think was where the audio identity was at its weakest during Season 1. With Season 2, they're not quite there yet, but they've gotten better at it.
It's a case of Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a case where I was able to hear more of the identity in this case than I was previously. And that being said, when it comes to the opening, everything that we had stated beforehand still applies. I really hope they end up making a new opening for Season 3, because the previous one isn't going to quite cut it, especially when two characters have had an outfit change.
Yeah. 2 had an outfit change, one's has also added features.
Mm-hmm.
Which we will get to that.
Yeah. But it starts out with Rise of the Chroma Conclave, which takes place immediately after the end of Season 1, where we have not one, but 4 big-ass dragons deciding to wreck everyone's shit.
And For context, especially for you D&D newbies out there, this is especially troublesome because they're not just four regular dragons. They are four very different colored dragons, and according to the lore, dragons of different colors don't exactly get along very often. They're very territorial, very competitive with each other. So to have four of them of different colors working together, and actually it would have been five, but we kind of killed off one of them in the first season. That's especially scary.
And
Long story short, 4 dragons to show up to fuck up your shit. Kiss your ass goodbye. Just you can't even run.
a green with poison breath, a black with acid breath, a white with ice breath, and a red. Who refers to himself as the Cinder King.
Rather weak, I'd say.
Oh.
He could have at least called himself the Lord of Cinders.
If we do that, From Software is going to sue us. But
No, it's a dragon, and it's in a high fantasy world, not a decaying, decrepit world. It's legally distinct. Damn it!
But the point is, they make absolute mockeries of the city of Emon's defenses. Like it's not even they didn't even stand a chance. The best that anybody could do is just get the hell out of the city.
Yeah, again, just going up against one of these guys is a brutal endeavor. 4 of them of different types? Yeah, I don't care how good your defenses are. You ain't standing up to that.
Oh, fuck no.
Let's also not forget that somehow the red dragon could not just breathe fire, but literally breathed what was probably a plasma lance, as in one from a goddamn 40k battle cruiser. He melted Emon down to nothing.
Yeah. And they do try and regroup at Gilmore's shop, which is a temporary affair. Gilmore tries to teleport them to Vox Machina's keep, thinking, well, that's a little bit out of the way. That'll be safe to regroup. Except refugees end up going to that keep, which is understandable since Vox Machina technically still has the title of Defenders of the Realm. And of course, this is a case where a bad situation gets even worse because the ice dragon of this group, known as the Chroma Conclave, decides to make work of the refugees. So all they can do is run away again, this time to Whitestone.
Yep. It's that bad. They have to run away twice in the same episode.
Mm-hmm. And in the follow-up, they end up trying to get help in Vasselheim, which is, I would say it would be equivalent to the Vatican in terms of being a holy city, but it's a pantheon holy city.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of just one nation of one particular deity. But of course, the folk in Vasselheim are the worst kind of elf. And once again, I have to remind people, you don't have to have pointy ears for me to call you an elf. Vax and Vex are not elves. They are elves, but not elves. How you get the title of elf? Being a know-it-all douche in a fantasy setting. Sometimes not even in a fantasy setting. This is the reason why all of the Vulcans except Spock have this label.
Space elves.
Yep. But
And we definitely get to see some elf material on display here in the second episode. Sorry.
God, fucking yeah, no, that was. That was annoying in fucking Vasselheim.
Especially since their reasoning is, the dragons can't possibly attack us. When has that line of thinking ever fucking worked?
When has that line of thinking ever not even just ever worked? When has that line of thinking never been fucking countered at some point because you're pointing Chekhov's gun in your own fucking face?
Pretty much.
It's a combination of
The
Chekhov's
dragon-
gun and Russian roulette.
The dragons will never come after us. Oh. Look, the consequences of my actions.
Gentlemen, bookmark this moment. For we will come back in season 3 or 4 when their shit gets wrecked. Let me finish. And I will hit the curb button on those elf assholes.
Indeed, for this shall forever be known as mistake number 1.
But one of the
Hey, it's as if the elves decided to chant, "We want Florida" for some dumb fucking reason. That is my one hockey one. There you go.
But one of the people who was there says, maybe you could get some help at Slayer's Take, but you didn't hear it from me. I never saw you, we never met, and you definitely did not hear about me recommending Slayer's Take to you, which creates a bit of tension because the twins have some history there. Slayer's Take being a monster hunting guild, and the twins have a bit of bad blood. Some people who really don't like them.
A bit of
Let's put it
bad
this way.
blood.
How many gold worth of bad blood? 10,000? 20,000 gold? Yeah.
Enough bad blood that the entire place was going to skin them alive.
Yeah, we almost had a Mexican standoff, especially since one of the people there is an old friend. Do I want to use that word? That feels.
I think a better word is a word that the Zoomers used to use a few years ago. A frenemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely frenemy.
A tiefling warlock named Zahara and her partner Kashaw, and I will admit the interactions between Vex and Zahara were a treat for me because it's just a case of if it weren't for the fact that you were in a party, there would be a cat fight happening right now, wouldn't there?
And it doesn't help that Zahara is voiced by the ever wonderful Mary Elizabeth McGlynn.
Oh, which is it's nice to hear her in a role that isn't boss mode, but is kind of meant to be a bitch.
Yeah. Also, her partner is actually also voiced by Will Friedle, who, lovely little behind-the-scenes fact, were actually playable. They were actually player characters in during the campaign. These aren't just NPCs you're dealing with here, people.
And the way he's presented, I kept thinking cleric, but it's an interesting kit for a cleric. I don't recall if Kashaw was a cleric in the actual campaign, and I'd have to double check. But the reason for the bad blood is Vex had poached a particular prey from the take and stolen the reward money.
I mean, isn't it the rule, like, finders keepers and first come first serve?
Yeah.
Tell that to people who are paid to take monsters down and want a fucking money.
Well,
Yeah.
remember when Joe got kill stolen? Just saying.
It's not kill stealing, it's kill confirming, Monk.
It's kill stealing, and if you're the member of the Slayer's Cake, or the Slayer's Take, it's kill stealing, and that's punishable by death.
But while they were laughed off at the idea of helping out to fight against the Conclave, they were dropped in to meet with the patron, who was actually
Literally.
who was actually a Sphinx.
Osisa.
Mm-hmm. A Sphinx that loves to play mind fuckery.
As Maddie always lovingly goes, man games.
Thank you, OSW Review.
Of course,
Monk?
on the other hand, there's the whole issue with Grog, and I should note, in the aftermath of the fight with the vampires, Grog decided to take a certain sword he probably shouldn't have.
Ah, yes, Craven Edge.
The Craven Edge.
Yes.
Though, I will have to admit a slight bit of disappointment, because there was one scene from the campaign that they left out of the show where he has his first talk with Craven Edge.
Oh, yeah.
And he freaks out over the fact that the thing can talk. He's just like...
Uh-huh.
It's like, are you my new master? What the shit? Do you have a name? Do I call upon you? Do I call you Bacon? Like, why did you leave that out? That was comedy gold right there. Tell me Grog wouldn't say that.
Right?
But they at least kept the part where he talked to the sword while on the shitter.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, it's in there.
Mm-hmm. But he ends up wandering off into the Stormlord's arena, and I'd have to double check, but I think the Stormlord is the legally distinct version of Cord. Because with all of the deities, they use the standard D&D pantheon, but legally distinct.
They are technically correct, the best kind of correct.
Yeah, for example, the deity who kept getting hinted at in season 1, in all but name, it's Vecna.
That it is.
I mean, in all but name.
Yeah, but yeah, Cord is basically what the Stormlord is supposed to be in this setting. And right in the middle of that arena, he ends up fighting a monk named Earthbreaker Grun, and is reminded of one thing: beware the old man in a profession where most die young. Because he keeps asking him, where does your strength come from? And every time Grog tries to fight him, he gets his ass kicked.
And Grog even tries to say, I get it! I'm supposed to say something like, my friends, and he's like, no, where does your strength come from? And punches him again.
But in the meantime, Osisia reveals that the only way they could defeat the dragons is by finding items known as the Vestiges of Divergence, i.e. the way you're supposed to be using magic items. Not just giving a +1 greatsword to somebody. You know who you are. But one of them is in the tomb of the Matron of Ravens champion, and well, for all intents and purposes, the Matron of Ravens is the Raven Queen. Not even subtle.
No.
But in episode 3, we do get a flashback to the early days of Vax and Vex, and how their father was a massive dickhead.
See, their father is an elf.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much so. And we'll
In
see
every
more of him soon.
In every sense of the word, he's an elf.
Honestly, I think dickhead's not enough. Just plain old fucking asshole.
Yeah.
The classic asshole at that.
Elf. A tautology.
Classic asshole, elf, same goddamn diff.
Exactly. It's a tautology.
And
Man, you corny!
They do eventually find where the tomb is, which is the good part. The bad part is it's under a fucking lake, a frozen ass lake that is guarded by fish people.
Just
Legally
gotta
distinct
love it.
Sahagin.
It's beginning to look a lot like fishmen everywhere you go. But within eventually getting some help from Zara and Keyleth, because going in there, you're going into the bottom of a frozen lake. Anybody here ever done the polar bear plunge?
Yes. Oh wait, you already knew that.
Just saying. Although it'd be really funny to bring in to have somebody who's used to really warm weather take it. I am sadistic, I know.
We've known this for a long time, Monk.
I watched that happen to some kid who had just moved into Oregon from Texas, Monk. And we were actually like up in the mountains for Boy Scout summer camp, and then did a polar bear swim in a mountain lake that gathered ice at night in the middle of summer. That lets you know how cold it gets up there.
Cold as my old man would say, colder than a witch's tit in the brass bra.
Yeah, and our whole thing was you had to chant the Fuzzy Wuzzy rhyme 5 times before you could get out. That boy was a baritone. He came out a soprano.
The only one I can when you say that, the thing that comes to mind is an old chemistry joke. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, but Fuzzy is no more, because what he thought was H2O was H2SO4.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. But within the tomb there has been a bit of a trust issue going about, because given how the twins have just had each other for most of their lives, there's a bit of protectiveness that can happen, especially when both pursue certain relationships.
Yeah.
If you thought a father-in-law was bad, meet Vaxel Dan. And vice versa for Vex as well, but you get the idea.
Yeah. But Vax tells everybody, stay put, I'm going to check for traps.
Of course, Grog is Grog.
Percy ends up finding a sarcophagus that has the armor. But when Percy examines it, he ends up setting off a trap that kills Vex.
How dead? Deader than a goddamn doornail.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally sucks the life right out of her.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they try to revive her, but it's kind of hard to. But it's a little bit hard to use that sort of healing magic when you're in the domain of the goddess of death. But right in the middle of it, Vax ends up seeing Vex be taken away, and I guess in a moment of not thinking things through, says, "Take me instead."
You raven bitch.
Yeah, which gets her attention, certainly. It was like, all right, bet. And by the end of it, he's wearing the armor.
And thus their first vestige is gained.
Mm-hmm. And Zara tries to pull a inevitable betrayal, but in doing so brings out a trump card from her pendant, which I think was intended to be a beholder in all but name.
It was.
And it isn't until Vax is able to use the Vestige's power that they're able to actually take it out. Granted, he ends up soloing the thing, but details.
It's a case of they need to give him his moment of badass.
Mm-hmm.
And we love him for it.
But in the meantime, there's the Chroma Conclave has been demanding tribute in the form of gold and other trinkets, and we end up seeing that there is one person who's been helping them, the one who got away last season, Anna Ripley.
More specifically, she's helping one of the dragons, Raishan, the green dragon.
Black. His breath is acid.
No, Black's Umbrasil.
He was helping Umbrasil.
But in the early going, maybe, but yeah. But eventually, they're also helping Raishan.
Mm-hmm. But after that, we end up having a bit of focus on Keyleth, specifically the association that they have with the elements, and this is important because they end up coming across Pyrrha, which is a settlement for the Fire Ashari, and it was during this episode that we started making Avatar jokes.
Oh God, did we ever? Holy crap! Keyleth might as well be Korra, just better.
Yeah,
that's not hard. Low bar.
That's why I said it, because I already knew it was.
But her mother is seen using magic from all four elements, and that's where we started making the Avatar jokes. And what's important with this is the town of Pyrrha is a place that guards the rift to the fire plane. And because originally Thordek had been sealed away in that plane, but he managed to get out, tearing a big ass hole between dimensions, and because of that, fire elementals were crawling out and attacking everybody. There was a bit of awkwardness when she returns, and there's the belief that she'd completed her pilgrimage.
Known as the Aramente.
Mm-hmm. When in actuality she barely even started it. And unfortunately, there's a bit of play along because her father thinks, well, if you're back, then we'll be able to turn the tide. Not quite getting the whole I haven't completed my Aramente. But she does eventually get her moment of badass by using the shape-shifting abilities of a druid to turn into a giant fire elemental. One that kept making me think of Pyron from Darkstalkers.
Yeah, I see it.
Darkstalkers is great, so that's a good comparison.
Mm-hmm. Of course, on the lighter end of things, and a case of Chekhov's gun being useful, we have Vex being able to utilize a flying broomstick. Thanks to Scanlan being able to actually read magic, but still.
And of course, he's being a total dick about it too, not giving her the code.
Mm-hmm.
That's Scanlan for you.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Scanlan gonna Scanlan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll get more of that later.
Oh yeah. Oh, we did get to mention when they met the other Sphinx. Or is that after this?
That's after this.
Okay.
Up throughout this point, Grog has been dealing with Craven Edge trying to be the devil on the shoulder, especially when he complains about being hungry.
I mean, it's a sword from a vampire. What did you expect it to want?
Plus, it is an evil sword that is black in color. I know we've had black blades a lot in anime wielded by good guys, but in this sort of fantasy, this is where you get stuff like Stormbringer from the Elric trilogy or the Soul Reaver from Legacy of Kain.
Or Frostborn from the Lich King.
Which was cribbing notes from Stormbringer.
True.
Weapons that usually end up most of those weapons are soul-eating weapons, although the Soul Reaver was originally drank blood. It's complicated.
Go play the Legacy of Kain games, everybody.
Mm-hmm. But following the vision that Vax had, they do eventually end up meeting up with the other Sphinx, Kamali Jori, who his challenge is to wound him.
You cause him to feel pain.
Because apparently it was either that or go with this lengthy gauntlet with a bunch of different monsters.
Yeah, they all thought, just cause him a little bit of harm? Oh, we can do that, no problem. Oh, the folly of their thinking.
Every single one of them, up until Scanlan gets the old ring out.
A.O. You lose.
And then Scanlan gets a brilliant thought in his head. Wait a minute. He said to wound him. He never said what kind of wound he could inflict.
And what we get out of it is a ballad so 80s. I'm pretty sure some of us started growing afros.
No, my hair turned into the poofiest Gramrock hairstyle you ever did see.
I swear to God, I felt like I was rewatching the Jetsons movie when I was listening to this thing.
Let me make an even deeper cut. Rock and Rule.
Yep.
Oh, God damn. I don't know that one.
Yep.
But that ends up working because he ends up shedding tears.
You have made me feel pain, he exclaims.
Mm-hmm. And he gives him one of the vestiges, Mythcarver, which allows him to see where the other vestiges are.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. That's the good news. The bad news is where they are. One of them is in the Fey realm, and the other is a pair of gauntlets with a tribe of Goliaths out in Westrun, which makes Grog feel very uncomfortable. Granted, because we can't have good things for long, Umbrasyl ends up attacking, and as strong as Sphinxes are, they're not known for the same kind of physical prowess that a dragon is.
Yep.
And even worse, he ended up taking Mythcarver in the process.
Of course, you just have to question how a giant-ass fucking dragon can handle a sword that was meant for human hands. The thing didn't even look like a butter knife. It looked like a pinprick next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got bigger.
Mhm.
But of course, to make things even worse, um, when Craven Edge got a little bit of dragon blood, the bloodthirst got really bad, and Pike got impaled in the process, which snapped him out of the bloodlust he was in. While they were able to teleport into the Fey realm, it's very important to not have teleportation spells disrupted, because they got into the Fey realm, but the where in the Fey realm, that's a little bit fuzzy.
Not to mention that Grog and the two dwarves, Pike and Scanlan, didn't exactly hang on well enough to finish the journey.
Pretty much. And of course, when it comes to the Fey realm, there was a running joke throughout their time here of Percy being a massive nerd about the Fey realm, but it's actually worse than he thought it would be.
Oh, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect example of Percival the Rollo the Third, book nerd, street dumb.
He tries to act like he knows the Fey realm like the back of his hand, even though he's never been here because he's read every book about it. But when he gets there, he finds out he doesn't know jack fucking shit.
Well, it's the Fey realm. It's bullshit personified.
Exactly.
And eventually the blade got a little bit too thirsty and got destroyed. But in the process, it took Grog's strength with it.
Literally, it sucked away his muscles.
Yeah. And we already got a power ballad, and now we get a country ballad.
Specifically, a journey ballad.
I'll say this. I will say this. I'm not a big fan of those kind of songs, but Sam Riegel and Ashley Johnson, they pulled it off. It sounded amazing.
Yep. Eventually, they end up finding a satyr named Garmili, who is a troll. I know he says he's a satyr, but no, he's a troll.
Oh yeah.
But he does point them in the direction of where the bow Fenthras is, namely in the Shademurk Bog. And with a name like that, you can understand why people don't really go in there for a picnic.
But before they can get to that bog, they gotta pass by a certain city that just somehow made its way there. Or specifically, the elven home of the twins.
Yep.
That Chekhov's gun just went back.
Because apparently, when the Chroma Conclave started wrecking shit, the city of Singorn decided to just nope out and take up space in the Fey realm. And unfortunately, their father is one of the city's ambassadors.
So we have a very unfortunate reunion.
That we do.
Although oddly enough, the kid in the house is a lot nicer than the old man.
Though we have to talk about one of the best scenes from Percy in this season. When he gets to shove it in the dad's face. Because now this required a little bit of setup because earlier in the campaign, something that you don't see in the show is that in order to help calm Percy down, Scanlan had actually used a memory spell to kind of paint a picture for the Fey realm in Percy, and had talked about giving Vex a name, a nickname, essentially, a title. And we see Percy throw that title out in this one scene where they're leaving, they're getting passage to the city, and Percy goes to the dad and goes, "You might want to anem one of those names. That's Lady Vexalia, Baroness of the Third House of Whitestone and Grand Mistress of the Grey Hunt." I actually just remember the exact title just as I said it.
Clutch.
Clutch as fuck. Yep. But yes, he throws that out, and just that moment of bad. Vex is just like, oh. Actually, I'll take another one of Maddie's things. I think Vex went sploosh.
Oh, it's a sploosh.
Yeah. But
Archer sploosh.
But when it comes to heading into the bog, part of the reason why nobody goes in there is Soundor occupies that place, a cursed archfey. And the thing is, archfey tend to be high up on the food chain within the Fey realm. Hence the name. Remember that
Archfey are generally patrons for warlocks in some cases.
Sondor tries to sweet talk Vex into staying in the bog with him, since there's the I can't remember if it was outright stated, but there's the implication that Sondor is the way he was because he was rejected long ago.
I think it was mentioned in a sense. But at the very least, what Soundor likes to do is he likes to tap into people's insecurities, their fears, their desires, and he taps into Vex's need to prove herself to her father. She wants her father's attention to show that he does actually approve of what she's doing, and Soundor really just digs into that hard.
Oh God! I just realized what Soundor is. The sadness of the swamp.
I made that joke when we were there. I even said it's the swamp of sadness from the Never-Ending Story, and Maddie said, "No, we're not singing that."
Yeah. There must have been an issue on Discord because I don't remember hearing that, or maybe I was drunk.
Monk, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just that great minds think alike. That's all.
I heard Lady K laughing in the distance. That was perfectly fine.
She's watching a funny TikTok video over here. I was trying to mute it, but I didn't mute properly.
Oh, good. It made for a perfectly timed laugh track.
I'll take it.
But Vex, of course, is able to overcome it, and we get a literal shot through the heart.
And he is indeed to blame.
And
he definitely gave love a bad name.
In the process, getting Fenthras, which is Fenthras ends up reminding me of so many different magical bows, and one could say this is a class change for her, going from Beastmaster Ranger to Arcane Archer, or taking a level in Arcane Archer.
No, Monk. There is a very distinct type of bow this is. It's the hero's bow. Yes, that is a Zelda reference.
Hell no.
I'll take it.
I mean, it shoots fucking fire arrows. You put an arrow in and it can shoot fire.
Oh. And of course, Gamili helps them get back to Taldore as payment for entertaining him. And It's been a while since the campaign, but I get the feeling Garmelie is going to show up again.
I mean, I don't know what would have clued us in. Maybe the fact that after they go through the portal, he shapeshifts from a satyr into an archfey?
I mean, there's certainly that. It's just you know how these things work. You don't leave Chekhov's gun on the table.
And
Yeah.
Critical Role never really was bad at that. They were pretty good about if Chekhov's gun's there, it's gonna get fired.
Critical Role didn't use Chekhov's gun. They used Chekhov's armory.
Yeah. In the meantime,
And every goddamn bullet was fired.
in the meantime, Pike and company end up meeting up Wilhelm Trickfoot, i.e., Pike's great grandfather, who's able to get the corruption caused from Craven Edge out, which should let Grog recover his strength, but that's gonna take time.
Time, and one other thing. A spark. Something to cause him to just revitalize those old muscles.
Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, they decide to head to Westruun to retrieve the next vestige, which unfortunately is the gauntlets.
Gauntlets owned by Grog's uncle.
Good old Kevdak.
Mm-hmm. And a good chunk of the remaining episodes are more of an exploration with Grog, much in the same way that a good chunk of time was in season 1 was dedicated to Percy.
I would actually say that we had 4 specific arcs here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The twins, sure.
Mm-hmm. We had the twins. We had Keyleth.
Yep.
And then we have Grog and someone who didn't get an arc yet, Scanlan.
Mm-hmm. Especially since with Scanlan, there's been this motif of him wanting actual relationships, but his Scanlan-ness keeps getting in the way.
And he even asks, of all people, he asks Vax for help, and Vax also asks him for help at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as this last arc is going to show us, Scanlan-ness has consequences.
Yeah. Oh. But with episode 9, the first thing to note is a flashback with a younger Grog, who was in the middle of a raid when it came to it with the other Marauders in a band known as the Herd of Storms. And even though the thing that I find funny is Grog and his kind are supposed to be Goliaths, yet the way they act are orcs.
And they're called half giants, even, to be legally distinct.
Yeah, but they are as orcish as it gets.
And with Grog, you could call him Grog
Oh my god.
Later.
Oh my god, really?
Yes, the Trogdor reference is always approved.
And then there's this asshole!
Just for reference's sake, so people understand why I have a particular beef with Trogdor. Understand it is nothing against the character itself or the animation series. I had a classmate in high school who would not shut the fuck up about Trogdor every fucking class to the point I got sick of it. I've never watched anything Homestar Runner related as a result of this kid.
Wow.
That's sad, actually, because Strongbat emails were actually really good.
Oh, I've seen clips, and I'm not disputing that. It's just I cannot bring myself to watch them because I will always remember this douchebag in class just pissing me the fuck off. He was essentially I wouldn't say a bully, but he came as close to being one as you could be. He was just an annoying dick.
You should have been thankful I wasn't in his class because you know what I'm capable of.
I would
Swirlies.
have wished you were there.
I'm not gonna do swirlies. Those are way too messy.
No, Monk. You're doing them wrong if they're messy.
I don't like messing around with water like that.
Point being, that's why I have a little bit of an whenever I hear Trogdor brought up. He used to sing that theme all the fucking time. Moving on.
But in the process of scouting, Scanlan ends up meeting with a gnome named Kaylee, who is part of Dr. Dronzel's traveling troupe, who apparently think very highly of Scanlan.
Sort of.
So, in the meanwhile, Grog ends up informing Pike about his history with the herd, including when he met Wilhand and had a moment of conscience that he paid for. Namely, by the fact that when it happened, Kevdak beat him within an inch of his life, and left him for dead.
Yup.
And in the meantime, the gold that the Herd of Storms has been collecting has been part of the tribute that Umbrasyl is collecting for the Conclave. And there's a bit of tension within the herd because they're supposed to be proud warriors, and here they are being a dragon's bitch.
Yeah. It also feeds into some tensions between Umbrasyl and Thordak. Because Umbrasyl keeps bringing up the vestiges of divergence, like, these are things that could actually stop us. We should kill the little shits and take them. And that way nothing can stop us. We give them to some of our thralls, and our thralls do our bidding. And
Thordak is like, fuck that noise! Bring me more gold!
Yeah.
No. Thordak, like the head honcho, is essentially, well, he's setting things in motion to hit this.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
Simple math.
But this is where we also see Anna Ripley again going, why do you even care about Thordak? Just gather the vestiges yourself and you'll be invincible.
So Maddie, dissension.
Smell this.
And apparently the reason why the whole thing is being humored is because, well, Kevdak's gauntlets are one of the vestiges.
The Titanstone Knuckles, as they're called.
Yep. And the tension within the herd is to the point where his son has throughout this episode frequently called him out on his shit. And every time Kevdak is like, "You think you can lead the herd?" And the one time he decides to nut up and say yes, he gets his shit kicked in until Grog arrives to challenge him with a, "Hey uncle, miss me?"
Yeah, but Kevdak shot back.
Us for Brack.
Kevdak shot back with a, "I didn't know you could even be smaller than you were."
Oh, but in the meantime, when you have Keyleth, Vax, Percy, and Vex heading to Whitestone, where it's revealed that the reason Whitestone has been able to maintain things is it's hidden by a spell. There's also the fact that while they were in the Fey Realm for 3 days, it's been 3 weeks in the real world.
Those Scanlan, Grog, and Pike have actually been scouting out Western for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. And this is
and you know, healing up Grog with a suppository.
A suppository bigger than any of Hitler's pineapples.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I understood that reference.
Funny thing is, that's the second time this week we've made that reference.
The second time in 2 days.
Still this week, so I am still technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
But even though Grog tries to fight Kevdak, he has no chance. And the thing that really gets under Kevdak's skin is him bringing up the whole thing of swearing fealty to a dragon.
Yo. Basically calling Kevdak a little sissy bitch.
But in his arrogance, Kevdak ends up pushing the pike button.
Shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
That's what lets him get his strength back and start countering. Until it's revealed that there's another little feature besides lightning fists to the gauntlets.
Kevdak could get even bigger.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody's already clipped it and put Rita's famous line into it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Well, if you're not, I am. Make
for it.
my monster grow.
There you go.
But in the resulting melee, which is where we finally get Grog wanting to rage, to the point where it gets its own theme. we had the power battle, we had the country battle. Now we have the fight riff.
Oh yeah.
Which, in this case, I would call a prog metal fight riff.
That's about right.
And Grog's big idea to deal with his uncle is getting some height and pulling the biggest DFA that we've seen.
Now, let me set the scene for you here, because one thing we haven't explained yet is that Zara had given Vex the magic pendant she had used to summon the Beholder. It's actually more, I'd call it something akin to a Pokeball, basically.
I think we all did.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to explain it. She had been using it to carry Trinket around, so during the fight, she had unleashed Trinket and rushes up to Grog and puts him in the pendant, since Grog is technically a creature.
Well, I mean, she even says, "Hey, Grog, do you want to find out if this is gonna fucking work?"
Hey, Grog.
He's like, "You want to do something crazy?
Yep.
Fuck yeah!" Cap takes him into the pendant, heads up high into the sky, and then using what little tricks she had left, lets him loose as he falls straight down for Strongjaw! Shoom! Whoa, kaboom! Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
That's why I'm here.
When this is a case of division, because it wasn't just a little scratch. It was a case of he got deep in.
Long
Yeah.
division.
Kevdak was now half the man half the Goliath he used to be.
But remember that before that point, Grog also did manage to, take a bow and get a hand from Kevdak.
Yep.
But while he took the Knuckles, initially because of the fact that he won the battle to the death for who would become leader of the herd, all the other Goliaths are chanting his name, but he's like, no, I can't do that. Zanror is better suited to that role.
Yep. So he gives it to his cousin. I mean, we'll be honest here. Grog and Brains, not really a thing that are associated. His cousin,
Not exactly getting chocolate and peanut butter here.
yeah, his cousin is maybe slightly more brainy, but none of the Goliaths are really brainy.
We're grading on a curve here, people.
Yeah.
Well, we have to grade on a curve for the part where Percy bores them to death.
Oh, to be fair, even the others in the room are like, "Oh, would you just shut the fuck up, Percy?"
Nerd!
Percy, just show them how the trap is set up. Don't explain everything behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Even I'm not that pedantic.
But
And that's saying a lot coming from you.
but after this
That's fucking rich.
after the
Self-burn.
celebration,
It's good.
you do have a bit of a moment of Scanlan and Kaylee helping out with the band, and the two of them harmonize pretty well. Scanlan gets led into a private bedroom where, after
before you ask, yes, this is a case of Scanlan thinks it's going to be this.
Drops it through the pantyhose for two. I mean, nylon for two.
Monk, continue.
First off, it starts getting a bit kinky.
Kinky. Yeah.
What with him being in nothing but his undies and having his arms and legs tied to the bedposts.
It's just his arms.
Just his arms. What am I thinking? And Kaylee ends up revealing that this is vengeance for her mother, essentially revealing that she's Scanlan's daughter.
Oh. God damn it. This is a moment where you almost think you're hearing Sweet Home Alabama in the background.
Ding, 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 ding.
In fact, I think the gag I used right as this revelation happened was
Yep.
Yep.
And I did answer with Battle of the Banjos, yo.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, Scanlan doesn't remember Kaylee's mother. He tries to spin a yarn about it, and tries to go with this sad story, and then it's revealed, motherfucker, that's not my mom's name.
And then
I would say he was caught with his pants down, but his pants are already down, so that doesn't really help much.
You could also say he was caught red-handed, but his hands are kind of tied.
But she
Oh, I think we broke Janet back there.
But she decides to instead of killing him, she decides to just leave him there because it turns out that sword can maintain its position.
I have no context for that.
The sword, it looks like it's a sword that is embedded within an immovable rod.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kristen, well, I'm gonna rattle off some names when I hit it, buzz it, okay?
I will tell you.
Got me?
Yeah.
All right, Brandy, Heather, Channing, Brianna, Amber, Sabrina, Melody, Dakota, Sierra, Bambi, Crystal, Samantha, Autumn, Ruby, Taylor, Tara, Tammy, Lauren, Charlene, Chantel, Courtney, Misty, Jenny, Krista, Mindy, Noelle, Shelby, Trina, Reba, Cassandra, Nikki, Kelsey, Shauna, Jolene, Erling, Claudine, Savannah, Casey, Dolly, Kendra, Kylie, Chloe, Devin, Emily, Becky.
No.
Yeah, that was essentially what Scanlan did.
That was he was doing. That's 10-2. Oh yes, some Seth MacFarlane jokes actually hit into the right spots. This is probably one of them.
Yep. But in the ensuing matter, he does eventually get out of it with just a bit of a cut, but has to try and explain what the hell is going on, because this was a case where Scanlan ended up getting a "reason you suck" speech, and he starts to have a bit of a different outlook. Instead of being as troublemaking as he was, he wants to, at the very least, do right
By his daughter, yeah.
At the same time, Vax ends up finding a temple to the matron, and going into a pool of, well, it's supposed to be red liquid, but you know how it is with these kind of temples. Although it probably is red liquid, because if that was blood, it would have long since coagulated.
Yeah. And you'd have a lot of questions of where the fuck did all that blood come from.
This is where I made the joke of, hey, look, Vax is becoming born again.
The funny thing is, you're not far off, because it's shortly after that he has a conversation with the deity who he's technically the champion of.
And he's pretty confrontational at first, asking, what the hell she wants from him. And, what is this all about? Do you want me dead? And she corrects him very quickly, going, no. We are the people who give death a peaceful existence. We make sure those who can pass beyond do pass beyond. Because without death, death helps to define life.
And that's the reason why I bring up the Raven Queen, because for all intents and purposes, the Raven Queen is the Morrigan of Irish myth.
Yes.
And,
well, in this case, it would be the Mabd.
Yeah. Which would you mind giving the skinny on the Mabd and why that's relevant to the Raven Queen?
So the Mabd is the name of all three of the it's the collective name of all three of these Raven Irish goddesses. And it's easier to explain that actually, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's probably Maeve, but she is at once all aspects of the cycle of life. In this case, she would be associated with fate and war, with death, and the revitalization that comes from death. She's also technically the queen of the Irish pantheon, and because she is the wife of the Dagda.
But getting back on the rails, this is where we have that moment of setting up a plan, and where Percy ends up going into detail that even I wouldn't go into regarding just setting up a trap to ground Umbrasyl. So the problem is he explains the entire process, and everybody is like,
we've been over this, nerd.
Does anybody have the Get On With It from Monty Python?
As a matter of fact,
he's got to get to it first.
Yeah, I just got to set up because I know I have that one on standby. There it is. Yep.
Get on with it!
That's pretty much everybody, because it gets more and more awkward the longer it goes. Because look, if you're doing this kind of thing of we're setting up a trap, you don't need to go into all the details about the engineering theories behind it. Just show us where the trigger is so nobody gets caught, nobody gets anti-heroed in their own damn trap. Or if you prefer, nobody gets Gargura'd in Skyrim. I was going to say Pecco, but Pecco's never been dumb enough to fall for her own traps.
Yeah.
No, she just gives other people heart attacks with traps, like the Pandora's box. Then again, if you open Pandora's box, you get exactly what you have coming to you.
Yep.
But the initial part of the ambush is successful, and the trap is sprung, but it isn't quite strong enough.
Again, we're going up against a fucking dragon here.
But they decide that they can't get through the scale, so the only way to fight him is through the inside. And this is a plan that only I'm gonna need you to set this up, Shades, because this is a plan that only Scanlid would think of.
He's gonna take himself and Vaxel down, turn himself sideways. You know the rest.
Yes.
I don't even. If you're a wrestling fan of a certain age, I don't even need to spell it out.
Nope.
Go ahead.
We're gonna give Gold Umbrasil a nice little colonoscopy.
They even had Scanlan's head doing the 2 fingers. And if there, though we did have a case of Chekhov's gun going off once again, because they did use the sword to try and harm him from the inside by activating the sword right in there. So if he tries to move, well, things are going to get poked. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work because he decides to just brute force his way out.
So it tears a hole through his stomach.
Mm-hmm. And this is where we get to the finale, which deals with with them half beaten up, now about to try and go into a dragon's lair. I mean, Pike doesn't have any more healing magic. Everybody's in one form or another injured. Although on the plus side, Vax found out that he's got wings. So there's certainly that. And this is a particular fight that is very much a case of it's as one-sided as it can get, especially when you're dealing with a dragon who spits out acid. Like if you deal with that unprotected, well, you're not going to be around anymore. You're not going to even be a skeleton.
It'll just be a stain on the floor.
Mm-hmm. But eventually, this is where Scanlan has his nut up or shut up moment, because the whole time he's been like, "There's no way we can kill a dragon. We need to run. We need to hide and regroup." Even though Umbrasil is also wounded, so this is I should say was, because Umbrasil heals ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
But throughout the whole thing, he'd been cowering until he finally decides to get his balls back. Is able to grab Mythcarver, stab it. Do the one thing I kept saying throughout the whole fight: go for the eyes. Goes right for the eyes. Channels a bit of music into Mythcarver, and well, he's faced.
You know what we call that, right, Monk? That was Scanlan's face-melting solo.
I got the feeling that Mythcarver was a sword that is meant for a bard.
I mean, it has the name Myth in it. I think that might be true.
And well, it lived up to its name quite literally.
But Scanlan was crushed beneath the falling Umbrasil. Mm-hmm. And everybody is mourning around him, and Pike is crying and gives him a goodbye kiss. And then Scanlan has to ruin the fucking moment. Or save it, however you want to see it. Mm-hmm. By pretending to imitate Pike and going, "Oh, Scanlan, I love you." It was fucking great. Jesus.
But after a but after a return to Whitestone and a celebration, over the matter. Everyone falls asleep except for Vox Machina and Yenin, who who reveals herself as Raishan, the Green Dragon.
Yeah, pretty much. Though it's a funny in the actual campaign, Liam did not realize that happened. So it took like half the conversation before people pointed out, dude, that's Raishan.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
And he pretty much had to go, like I would if I'm missing stuff. I was like, who did what now?
Yeah, but she ends up telling them that she is willing to help them because they're going to need a lot more than just vestiges to deal with Thordak. And he,
I know what some of you are thinking. Hold on, the audience.
There's definitely some doubt on that because that was because dragons, huh?
Because fuck Mother and Durgan.
Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there is still the fact that they are lacking it, that they barely survived against Umbrasyl, so she's kind of got a point.
No, only kinda. It's not that big a deal.
Meanwhile, Vorogal, one of the other dragons, informs Thordak of Umbrasyl's death. But and warning, they have vestiges. They could come and kill us. But once again, Thordak is like, nah, I don't have to worry about them. And in the meantime, he is looking down at a large army's worth of dragon eggs. And the series ends with the sound of hatching. And like I said, this is very clearly the part one to a part two when it comes to this particular story. Like we already had a light one with the vampires and the chaos demon in all but name.
Yeah.
The demon that possessed the list is a chaos demon if I ever saw one. I think I made
absolutely.
that clear.
Basically, the way to look at this is Season 1 was a great introductory story. Introduce the cast, get an idea of their personalities, and show you that these guys are able to step up when the need calls for it. Now, Season 2 is where we raise the stakes and show that shit's getting serious, and it's very likely that this unlikely group of heroes are going to be the ones to save the day.
So, with all that said, I think it is time we render our final judgments.
All right. Good ladies and gentlemen who have been watching our dear Parliament, we move on to the final judgment. And to start us off, I turn to you, Brother Matty. What is your verdict?
Forget that they didn't change the theme song for a minute and listen to the music, the entirety of the music and the incidental music in the background. There's a clear improvement. Now, how much of an improvement is subjective, of course, but there's that. This was fun. And dragons. And dragon slaying. And dragon eating. And dragon suppositories. The fuck. No, this was fun. And this is more. This is absolute weeb.
All right. Brother Matty has rendered upon us a verdict of weeb. With that, I move on to you, Brother Flutter. What be your verdict?
Much like Matty, I agree. This is a very fun romp. It's a nice improvement over Season 1 with its music and its storytelling and the action scenes. And this is very much a show you watch either on your own or with friends, but yeah, and agreed, weeb.
All right. And Brother Flutter has given us a second verdict of weeb. Brother Shades, what you got for me?
Ah, yes. If you enjoyed Season 1, you will absolutely love Season 2. It takes what works from Season 1 and improves on the things it needs to. It also gives a lot of development for a lot of characters who you may have felt missed out on Season 1. I think the only character who really hasn't had her moment yet is Pike. And that time is coming with Season 3. I'm certain she's going to get her moment to shine. But everybody else has had their time to really step up and really develop more as a character. And we see the stakes raised. The animation is even better than Season 1. The music is improved. Everything is fucking fantastic, and I loved every bit of it. The comedy is hilarious. The action is intense. And you never know where the story's going to go next, unless you've already watched the actual campaign, but that's just saying. So without a doubt, I continue my rating from Season 1, and I give thee yet another weeb!
All right, Brother Shades has given us weeb. Monk, it's your time.
You know, having a breakout hit is kind of like winning the lottery. Some people think that they have to move from a modest house into a mansion, and then regret it because they realize that a bigger house means more upkeep. The smart people don't move into a mansion, but instead just use the money to fix up the house they're already in. Trim the fat, if you will. This is a case of trimming the fat. Just taking what already worked and doing it more comfortably. While I can't really separate it into the mini arcs that I was able to with Season 1, it still moves at a pretty regular pace. Everybody gets a good amount of time to shine in one form or another. Several characters have their nut up or shut up moments to the point where I could probably have that as the unintentional theme of this season. The only one who's kind of the odd man out is Percy, to the point where I end up making a joke about the times where Percy actually won a fight. Because he does kind of borderline on getting the Worf principle.
Yeah, he got Worfed.
But since he had a whole season to himself, I can't bring myself to be too harsh. But even with all of that, the big thing that I had a bit of an issue with Season 1 was musical identity, and like I said, it's definitely improved. It doesn't feel like a TV soundtrack, it feels like an animation soundtrack. Which was the big thing for me. So with all of that said, I am most definitely giving it a grade of weeb.
All right. With the monk, we have 4 votes of weeb. As for myself, first, I am very much looking forward to Pike's larger spotlight that might be coming next season, because while it's true she did get that small Everlight arc in Season 1, it really wasn't a spotlight. And as Monk said, we couldn't separate the story into mini arcs here, but I don't think that was also the intention. It definitely seemed to be more character arcs, which was a good variation, because the first season had story arcs, as Shade said, to introduce the world building and characters. It was a definite good move to shift into something different, to give us a more granular focus on the people that we've been following. As always, the voice acting is lovely. Surprise, surprise. In fact, we have some fantastic voice acting from the unfortunately late Lance Reddick as Thordak. I don't know if they got all his lines prior to Season 3. I kind of doubt it, so I'm going to miss him there. But the fact that we had him at all is a fantastic, It's that garnish that just makes the meal perfect. As for the audio identity, when it comes to the musical identity, we have seen a marked improvement, except for the things that have already been noted. And it's very much growing into its own. The actual audio identity, such as Foley sounds and sound effects, things of those nature, have just gone up at an even higher notch than they were before. It really, really added to the impact of both action moments and the introspective moments with the types of sounds and how they were used. Animation was absolutely improved. We had much more fluid animation. I remember that there were some parts of Season 1 where the animation was a little rough, but that's expected from a new project. It was something we could look beyond, and it's clear that they're growing. And then, of course, we have the new looks of everybody who got their vestiges. Those were all very fun to see, and you might see some of them on our title card here that the Shades made for us. Brother Shades is always quite talented at making something bombastic when necessary. I think sometimes Brother Shades might actually be made of bombast, but that's a different story. All in all, this second season of Vox Machina continues the ball rolling, gives us a nice kick of adrenaline, and it kind of accelerates towards a satisfying conclusion with the Chroma Conclave in the next season, possibly. So, of course, I can do nothing but rate this weeb. And with 5 votes of weeb and 0 of scrub, this Parliament once again finds the legend of Vox Machina to be weeb.
And we will be looking forward to covering season 2 and probably I'd say season 3. What am I saying? In probably a year or so, or maybe less, depending on how these things go. But with that said, let us spin the wheel and make the deal.
Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn.
Even though we won't. So, let's see what we got. And our next project will be Akudama Drive.
Yes.
Ooh. Damn, Zan's not excited at all, is he?
I'm probably someone who threw like a third of the suggestions up on that list. Just went through my library of things I think more people should see.
I also
that we're just getting one of my other. I just love it.
Yeah, I also will admit that I end up going through a bunch of lists that a bunch of people made of shows that were 12 episodes long, and whether I'd seen it or not, I put it in because I was aiming to avoid the situation of what's next debate. So in a few weeks, tune in, folks, when we end up covering that. Of course, feel free to leave your own thoughts on Vox Machina down in the comments. Whichever ones I deem fit, I will probably be responding to from out of nowhere, with apologies to Ollie Davis. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.